You know, if we're talking about deporting um, undocumented illegal aliens, and maybe, I don't know, in Jesus' name, if whatever strategy there is in it, if it's done psychologically, you know, for a psychological effect, what have you. Maybe it's just to appear as an escalation, so that maybe there's an example to be made of them. I don't know what the complex of motivations here, but sir, you have the opportunity to just bring this shit right to a halt and do what is best. You could just um, listen to some of what I've said earlier, sir. I'm just going to repeat what I've said about this. You can start by uh, um, the enforcement of laws that are already in place, sir. Start with even now our fellow Americans. Put the emphasis, you know, on them, those that are employing undocumented illegal aliens. Even those folks there in, you know, Minneapolis, Minnesota, wherever it is, sir, you could send them out, simply sending them out letters, you know, telling them to comply. You know, you can find out, or you know who it is already. So many of them, ICE does, and you can then, you know, tell them to cease. I'm just saying, you know, employing undocumented illegal aliens. It could be handled that way, without even having a presence, because you know the whole matter can be dealt with that way. And you could, sir, you could. Even if we're talking about fining our fellow Americans who employ undocumented illegal aliens, you could handle that without even having to have, you know, the troops on the ground or what have you. A minimal amount. It wouldn't. It would just de-escalate everything going that route, sir. Yes. Isn't it interesting though that it is the most obvious um, way. I don't know how else to say this, but that you start by enforcing laws that we already have on the books. You know, you start by, you know, arresting or, you know, doing what you have to do. The enforcement, it could be fines. You know, you start off with fining our fellow Americans who are employing illegal aliens, undocumented peoples, doing that illegal activity. You crack down on that first, right? Doesn't that make sense, right? Doesn't it? Isn't that the most obvious way? How difficult would that have been? Mr. President, I don't understand. You know, you still have, you know, God willing, you still have a couple more years in your term of office. What, 3 more years? And I mean, you know, if it was only 3 more years, it's hard to believe, isn't it? A year has gone by already, but how quick time goes by, doesn't it? But I'm just saying, what, you know, what? Why wouldn't you just go ahead and approach something like this that way? All the think about all the trouble that it causes, you know. And let's go ahead and put on lenses in Jesus' name. View it through that way. What how when you allow corruption, when you allow criminal activity, what then, you know, happens? It's like, you know, the contamination. Look again, you know, at the fallout. What happened over here in Pennsylvania? All of it is irrefutably, it happened that all of those chemicals fell out, millions of pounds of them in Pennsylvania. But the people to the west, because they knew they'd have something coming, they're willing to carry that narrative for even the lie of 5 containers, you see, instead of 34 or 38. I'm saying the corruption. The corruption how it expands, it's like a contagion. The contagion of a lie where you have people that commit to a lie or commit to their criminal activity in such a way that they then would want to pass it off as something just commonplace, or that there's nothing abnormal about it. It's okay. I mean, I know it's a bit of rambling, and that was really incohesive, and sorry, but it is though. You see though that with even handling, this deportation, the whole matter. There are laws that have been broken, intentionally overlooked, and you see there's millions of people here now undocumented, that illegally here, but our fellow Americans are the reason why. They broke the law. They lured them here, and look at where we are by our authorities overlooking that and allowing them, giving them immunity. How about just immunity? Not impunity, but immunity. Look at where it's got us. But it's not too late to do the right thing. Crack down on our fellow Americans. And yes, now consider a way that those that are here illegally can have a path to citizenship, because of our fellow Americans being given immunity, and our authorities, they've allowed this to happen. They're part of this. They're complicit in this. You have to consider having a path for those people to have citizenship, because now they're rooted in their families, and look at how destructive it is now when you remove them. And if I'd have taken my time, I could have put together a succinct this in such a way that it would have been much better. But you almost have to consider that versus, I'm saying, what you see happening and what this could be going forward, the same approach. Try to think of that. Those people that have been here, they got their roots in, their families are tugging at them not to go, their friends, because many of them are, I'm just saying they've broken the law, but they were allowed to break the law. Our authorities have overlooked it, intentionally given them immunity for how many years now? Where you've got how many generations, some of these people. There are generations. So, since our authorities are is that word? Can I use that word? Are so interwoven and tied into this whole, this whole matter of the criminality. Oh, sorry, but it's true. You have to think of a way to give them a path to citizenship. A lot of these people. Why not have them purchase it in time payments? So over time, they can make payments on. Sorry. Like sometimes I'm just much sharper. It's got to do with my sugar. Shit. It's just and yes, it's worth the presentation to do the work for that, but my attention deficit disorder, that's a real thing, man. It really is challenging to be able to do that. That's what the medication is for. That's what the medication that I can't even get the VA. They wouldn't even help me to pay for it, and I had a prescription. So that's the way it goes. So I think it makes sense, though, what I said, even as tough as it was to listen to that. But work from there. There has to be a way for them to have a path to citizenship. And, the humility to grasp that reality, where things are right now, is that's something that's God-given. God-given is to see it and say, okay, you know what, that makes sense. Why don't we go ahead and do that? It's tough. It could be tough, but really it's so satisfying if you do the right thing. It really is. As you know, anytime you do the right thing, it is satisfying in Jesus' name. But yes, consider. Even if you look at the upheaval, you pull the troops out, you pull the ICE officers out, just change direction in your policy. And what? You know, any and everyone knows that you can turn up the heat, that, you know, you can make things a hell of a lot worse, you know, for anyone that's going to protest, that's going to resist this policy right now that you're carrying out, sir. Everyone knows that. It doesn't matter how dumb they act, how stupid they might seem. They know in their heart of hearts, well, how easy it would be for you to do that. You're not going to lose anything. I am curious, you know, about how many folks have laid out these reasons that it's the policy for the deportation, this industry, how detrimental it is, the problems with it, you know. And I do think it's worth hearing me on this, because I am a disabled veteran. I was disabled, you know, for reasons, you know, that no fault of my own. What happened to me in the service, sir. And, you know, I'm not, you know, out there physically rounding up people like these ICE agents, putting myself at risk. I wasn't doing that every day, like what they're doing. The injuries, sir, that these people are getting. You won't see it show up today. It's going to be over time. They'll file for compensation, because, you know, when you're in duty, you know, when you're in that time, you're not thinking. You're not thinking, oh, fuck, I better do this. I better go ahead and you know, go and have this you know, looked at and all of that. And you're like, you're worried about what everyone will think of you. You know, you don't want to appear as weak, or you're not going to press it. And then and that peer pressure is something that will keep you. But those people that do have injuries are going to seek compensation. Many of them, and how many of them? You know, I mean, their activities, what they're doing, it's, I mean, shit. How would you not? How could you, you know, eliminate, you know, those things that are going to happen, the injuries that are going to happen in that kind of a situation? And yet, I'm just saying, sir, it's just, how do you estimate the cost of that? You think of it, I'm saying, you carry out these operations throughout the nation. How many of these agents are going to be injured? How many people will be injured and will have lawsuits, and the money, what this actually will cost? Has anyone ever thought about that? Sure, I can articulate this much better, and I apologize that I didn't prepare anything, but it's really tough for me right now. But I see. I know that is something that, if there were open debate, you know, in Congress, you know, if people were to just be honest, our representatives were to talk about these things, if they were to be honest with one another, they would see. And they, you know, of course, there isn't, though, is there? I mean, you know, who's talking about that? Is anyone? Sir, as a disabled veteran, I can't even get an antibiotic for bodily infection from a tooth, because they won't give me any care for my teeth unless I'm 100% rated. I'm just saying, we can't even afford to give our disabled veterans, it looks like we can't afford to give them care, you know, for their teeth. And their teeth, it isn't just for the smile. You know, our teeth are essential. And, you know, I as a disabled veteran have suffered for years. Suffered. It's not just like, you know, okay, how fucking hideous it is when your teeth are all fucking jacked. It's, you know, every time you fucking eat, or anytime you have an infection, or an abscess. How fucking miserable it is. But if we can't do that for our disabled veterans, our armed forces veterans, our military veterans, we can't do that for them. What the fuck? Where's the money going to come from? To take care of these ICE officers that are going to have to be cared for once their time in service is done. Well, as it's going on, but I'm saying afterward is when you're going to have the claims and the need. What an expense that is, isn't it? Obviously, right? And I said, if you were to determine to go ahead and enforce the laws that we already have in place upon our fellow Americans who employ illegal aliens, undocumented peoples, illegally hire them, employ them, what have you. If you were to do that, you send out, really, it could be through letters. In the beginning, you're like, what is the official, I thank God I haven't had trouble like this that I'm real familiar with this, but certainly you could do this. And there's ways you can put pressure on them without having, a boot heel or, I'm saying involved. I'm saying if there's a business that is employing, if they're illegally employing, undocumented, illegal aliens, you can put pressure on them without having to spend much money at all in that process. And they would, that if it goes forward and you have to take them to court, whatever, they would pay the court costs. Everything would then be on their, with them, on their shoulders. And whatever fines that you would enforcing the law, maybe doing it that way, it's money. It's to the plus. Puts money in the bank account, doesn't it? Isn't that revenue? It's not. I mean, it's like it would pay for so many other things that need to be done. Yeah. Well, I mean, it just makes sense to me, and I really can't dismiss it. Like dismiss the thought, these thoughts of how it could be done another way. And whatever, ulterior motives there are with, building up ICE, even those motivations, what it is, whatever they are, could be handled another way instead of spending all of that money. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not wrong about it. I'm not wrong about anything that I said. There's no arrogance in that, man. I just know that what I just said is true. The phenomenon where people ignore this reality, that they act like they don't see that our fellow Americans are breaking the law, that they're being given immunity, like criminal immunity, like that our authorities are condoning their illegal activity. It doesn't get any more hypocritical. Yet it's made to. There's this phenomenon, sociological phenomenon, where people, if it's it's a natural thing, I think, survival type of fear. In Jesus' name, truly, what I've just said, and all this rambling, if you can hear what I've tried to communicate, I'm trying to help. So you could do it. You could change direction with this policy, sir, and it's not going to make you look weak. It's going to make you look smart. And I don't know. I think I think it could. I don't see anything but the best in that approach. It could be done. And you're still weeding out whoever it is, the bad elements that have gotten in. I have noticed, just like flashes, there are folks that have been wanting you to consider this approach. I don't know why it is that they can't seem to get anywhere. But if only you would change your policy with this leaning in. You're still gonna, have in place the ice, the force that you have. You wouldn't have to increase it, I don't think, sir. And whatever money's been appropriated for that, it could be used for something better. Something better. I think I'm gonna go ahead and record what I just left here and listen to it, because I know it has to be agonizing to try to listen to, and I'll go ahead and take it down. But maybe I'll try to be to make more sense with something more to the point, succinct. It's just an exercise. Why not? Why not? It's important. It really is. And I can imagine it's even more important. Praise Yah for an imagination that I can direct. That is true. I mean, it's when we get in trouble with our wicked imaginings. But if Yah gives you sight to see something, it can blossom in the fruition of it. It could be something wonderful, full of wonder. But where was it from? It's by inspiration. Just have to look. It's an exercise. Why not? In Jesus' name, I don't know. Just it's possible. It's possible. If I don't raise my voice, if I'm not, ranting about these things that are, it's hard not to, though. It's hard not to. It's very, very challenging, knowing, the challenges I have, and I'm not making it up, and I'm like, and I still see how many people there are in need, or, I can see this, but it's not muting me, I know that there's a contract, with anyone that volunteers and enlists in our armed forces. There's a contract, and the way that, I've been fought. I don't like affirming, revisiting these things. I need my energy so I can have something positive going forward. That's why I was asking again for no formalities with all this. I didn't want to have to fucking waste so much energy, because bringing up the things about my injuries and my fucking challenges is affirming them. And it's like, I had to be in denial about a lot of this shit, to keep going for years. And there's a reason. It's really debilitating even thinking about this shit. So if none of what it is that I have seen with the horror, that has been committed by Israel, and all of that, if I wouldn't have mentioned that, probably wouldn't have made it more challenging for me to be heard. There's, I wasn't trying to manipulate, though, to be honest, to be genuine, to be sincere, transparent. I purposely, would allow that stream of consciousness to flow. Because here I am, I'm in-house, a decision could be made in-house. So, I just didn't want to handle things that way. I wanted to just try to be as honest as I could. As honest. Yeah, this can sabotage you.